Feeling good?
Really?
Yeah, you do.
You didn't put nothing on.
Like you freshly washed. You gotta come over a little bit. Ah. Did you grind it out today? Did you? And today's gonna be a doozy of a topic.
No, it's not.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. All right, hang with the Joneses. I'm Rashad.
I'm Kesha.
And of course, we appreciate you guys for watching and sharing. Sharing is very important. Sharing is caring. When you share it means more people get to see it. So hang with the Joneses, Facebook and YouTube. Hanging with _the Joneses on Instagram.
This is episode
39?
39.
I didn't mean to say it at the same time, Michelle. But I didn't. Episode 30. Episode 39. And today, interesting topic, and I really want to talk
And the
about.
reason for the pause,
No, we're just gonna keep on going.
our daughters
No,
at the door scratching it. Like, so that's the reason we pause and look. Our children's at the door, scratching the door. Yeah.
Nia, can you go away for a second? All right. So, topic of the day, we're gonna be talking about. Basically, I had it like just this thinking about. We've been married for almost 20 years real soon, and
We've been together 20 years.
yeah, and just thinking about how how do we keep making this work? Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that I was pondering, and that's basically what we're going to talk about. I'll probably talk about this episode and a couple more episodes too, just like how marriage works. And one of the things that I thought about was basically how everybody says marriage is about compromise. Mm-hmm. Like that's like if you're in a marriage, you're gonna have to learn how to compromise. And I think we kind of have the right spirit of what they're trying to say, but I think we get it wrong because of the connotation of the word compromise. And when you compromise, you essentially are losing something, right? Because you had to come to some sort of meeting, and when you compromise, you're okay. I can't have this thing. Mm-hmm. I really feel like marriage is about negotiation, because when you negotiate, both parties have to be there. Both parties are present. Both parties have to come to a conclusion based on what both parties need and want at the time. Mm-hmm. So then, instead of like you lose a thing, I lose a thing, we both are gaining something for the better, for the greater good of the overall marriage. Mm-hmm. It's like a business negotiation. Certain parties get these things, certain parties get these things, but we all agree on the thing together so we can all move forward. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when there's a compromise, especially if one party feels like, oh, I be compromising all the time, and the other party doesn't, if there's some sort of like imbalance in that, then the party who always feel like they're compromising feel like they're losing everything, and they're not actually getting a say in said relationship. So I feel like marriage isn't about compromise. Marriage is about negotiating and negotiation.
And I know when you first brought this topic, I was like, I don't know. Isn't it the same thing? But as I think about it, when we use the word compromise, we do kind of give it a negative connotation. Like somebody said, you have a compromised immune system. That's not saying that means it's weak. And then when I'm thinking about negotiation, usually if you're negotiating, both of y'all bringing something to the table.
Yeah.
When compromising, you don't necessarily each not bring anything to the table, and one is willing to take the loss or give everything.
Yeah.
So I was really thinking about between compromising and negotiating, and yeah, I would say maybe more negotiating if we're using that definition of compromise and negotiate. How does that look though?
How does it look? Okay, well, let's explain what compromising looks like. Mm-hmm. Let's say early on. Early on with us, I felt like I compromised a lot. And that was in order to basically, really just appease 21-year-old Kesha. Mm-hmm. And
I was 21?
I'm just saying, 21-year-old Kesha. And that person is a much different person from then to now. Mm-hmm. So over time, and I'm a much more refined person than I was at 21 myself. Mm-hmm. So what Rashad wants at 39, is so different with Rashad wanted at 21. Also, my tolerance level for different things is very different too. My patience for certain things is like, for example, like early on, like I had a lot of patience for really when it came to like your feelings. Now my patience is different in regards to your feelings, because certain things we know we have to do and we have to go about it a certain way. So when you want to buck against that, I'm like, yo, like, why are you getting upset? Like, this is what we have to do. And now I have way more grace for you in regards to like, let's say like your when you have health issues and trouble like that, because like now my patience has shifted to the more important thing, which is like, your overall well-being and not just trying to appease you in the moment. So then me having to like shift my mindset from compromising to negotiating, also being able to properly eloquate how I feel has helped a lot too. Now I can actually express my thoughts and better be able to say what I actually mean and not just, ramble off my aggravation or my frustration. So that's like a major difference too.
So in compromise, why do we compromise as opposed to negotiate?
Because because that's kind of how we're taught. We're taught to compromise. No, and how many times have you heard marriage is about compromise? And that is that's been taught to us. God love them. My parents have taught us that. Definitely churches taught us that you got to compromise. You got to come to compromise. And
I don't think I heard that. And only time I probably really heard it was in church. To be honest with
that's
you,
what I'm saying.
Me.
Yeah. I've had my parents tell me that too. So we're kind of reared to think that way. To think that we have to be compromising. And the funny thing, let's look at the definition of compromise. The definition of compromise is to have something be in a vulnerable state. Because if you're in a compromised position, that means what? Something is wrong, or you're somewhere you're not supposed to be. So why are we gonna take that same word, you know what I'm saying, and then try to use it in a positive light? If I'm and here's the crazy part, Kesha. We then took the word negotiate because it's associated with business and then gave that the negative connotation. When in reality, if I'm negotiating, I am actively talking to somebody and we're coming to a general consensus on a thing. You feel what I'm saying? That's why you have negotiations in business and between, different parties or whatever. Like, they negotiate to come to a general agreement. Now, whether you feel like you want to lose that's not how I view marriage or life anymore. But still, when it comes to us, if we negotiate a thing, we both have a part in that. I'm just not saying like, this is what we're going to do and I'm tired of this and this, that, and the third. Like, it's not like that. It's, hey, I'm not feeling this anymore. How can we better come to an agreement to make this feasible for the both of us? That's how I feel.
And you kind of lead me to my next question. Like, does being submissive go in with a whole negotiation?
Good question. Because being this whole idea, especially the whole convoluted way that submission has been interpreted via the church, plays into the compromise part. Because since they view submission as like the weaker, or some sort of weakness thing, when really submission takes a lot of energy and actual self-control to do, it makes, especially when it falls on the woman, when that's really, we already know that's not real Bible anyway. We both supposed to be submitting to one another for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? But like, when it comes to it, it's like, you got to do what I say. And if you don't do what I say, you're not being the proper helpmate for me, which is absolutely incorrect. I have to be submitting myself to you, then vice versa, so we can then help each other. And then even when it comes to this whole notion of negotiation, what does that look like? I'm saying what I need, you saying what we need, what you need, then we are being able to develop what we need together. That's just negotiating. We're negotiating the terms of our marriage. That's how we submit.
And I think sometimes the word negotiate seems so, I think, like you said, the connotation of being business. So it's kind of sound like it's a business within your marriage. You know what I mean? Like your marriage is a business.
But then they tell us like, oh, I'm supposed to like, but then they say like, oh, I'm supposed to be about my father's business. Well, isn't my father's business my marriage too? Isn't my father's business my emotions? Isn't my father's business my feelings? So you can't sit here and cherry pick things and then not associate them with the other facets of our lives. I mean, it's
even go back to submissive and compromise and negotiation. A lot of times, women are harder on other women about those three topics. You know, you better compromise, or you better be submissive, or whatever your husband wants, you do. Even just watching a little video was like, I'll cook, I'll clean, I'll do anything.
Hold on. Let's
I know I switched.
But look, no. Let's say what it was. It was a Tyler Perry play. Don't act like it was a video.
I tried to switch
it was a which one was that? Which
I don't know. Did you go to jail? I think that it was.
Either way.
So, but even with that, but even just, it's not just, it's society that creates this whole dialogue of submission. And I can see that how that could be if you have that thought process of I need to submit. Negotiation, being to negotiate doesn't seem like it kind of fit into that. Mm-hmm. You understand what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It seems like that'd be kind of like the opposite. The antithesis.
The antithesis of it, definitely. So look at it from just a very broad perspective. If I am able to let's matter of fact, let's take it for you, for example. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite pastime to do when we go to New York? Besides eating food.
I would say eat.
What's your favorite thing to do? Besides eating and just basically staying at your mom's house the whole time. What's your favorite thing to do?
I don't know.
Your favorite thing to do is go to 125th Street and try your best to get a deal on something on the street for people who sell on the street, right?
I haven't did it in a while, but yeah, a deal. Period. I don't even care. A deal. Period.
But I know. But that deal, what can you do with that deal? You can do what? Negotiate your price. Mm-hmm. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if you can go, if I can go on the street, literally say, hey, like, oh, that shea butter is on $8 for the small one, and then it's $15 for the big one. Now I want both of those for $20, mm-hmm. and be able to talk him down, and they get so frustrated, like, nah, here you go. Like,
don't tell all my business.
I'm just saying, like, that's how it goes. But like, why do we think that? If you think that's a good thing, there, you being able to actually negotiate your terms. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna negotiate your terms there, why can't I negotiate my terms in my relationships? Mm-hmm. Not even just with me and you, just in my friendships too, or just people that I know, or my coworkers. Relationships, yeah.
Healthy boundaries.
Yes, we do it. Mm-hmm. We do it all the time. I mean, there's times where we feel that something isn't going right, but we know we have to work with said people or persons. Mm-hmm. So what do? We negotiate our terms. Mm-hmm. Like, yo, like I'm not gonna sign up for this. I'm not signing up for this, and I'm not doing this. And they say, hey, I understand. We got to do this. I can kind of bend on that, and I do see what you're saying on this. And what is that? An agreement based on a negotiation. Mm-hmm. So for you to tell me, for me to tell you that you got to compromise everything I do because it's how I feel, but I don't give you the respect to actually come to an agreement about a thing, that's not really a marriage. That's just me being overbearing or vice versa.
Or submissive.
Yeah, and that's not submission.
Mm-hmm. And also, what do you think of negotiation and healthy boundaries? It sounds like it's kind of like almost one the same. And going back to your example of me trying to get a deal when I go home, but it's just, it goes back to what I say. Both coming to the table with something.
Yes.
So they have something I want. I have something they want.
You have money. Mm-hmm. They have a product.
Right.
There needs to be some sort of exchange of goods.
Mm-hmm. So how can we work this out so we both can get what we want?
Yes.
So how does that go in with healthy boundaries?
I mean, that goes hand in hand because if I know there's certain things that I need, and you are okay. I'm trying to get a good example for this situation. All right, let's say like you and it comes to how you may not feel the best all the time. And I say, okay, I want to go out, or I'm trying to do this thing with everybody, but I know you don't feel well. So what am I going to do? Try to guilt you into coming? Try to make you feel like you're less than a person or less than a parent? Try to, like, pick at that scab long enough so you'll either actually get mad enough to come, or you'll break eventually? Or do I say, hey, okay, not feeling good today, let's try to like, shift, and when you get better, or next weekend, we try it tomorrow, maybe even later on today, because there's been times when we schedule things to do and you was like, man, I just ain't feeling it right now. And then 5 hours later, hey, I'm great. Like, you sure? Are you sure you're good? Like, no, serious, I'm good. I'm good now. Okay, you sure? Yes. All right. That's still having a healthy boundary between what I want to do and how you actually are doing. You feel what I'm saying? I think that's a decent example.
Yeah, but like you say, until this point today, I have never thought of it, and I never thought about the word compromise, but I do hear that a lot. That, and man, if you have to compromise, you have to compromise. I do hear that a lot, and I don't think I ever put much thought into it. But I feel like it's a lot of sayings that we say, and if you really sit down and think about it, you're like, what does that mean? And then when you really dive into, like, that's not really good. Why I'm striving to do that, and that's not even biblical or just good.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of deconstructing for me of just some of the myths that have been presented to me as facts and as truth, when some of those times those are really half truths, and
somebody else's thoughts.
Yeah, somebody else feels and emotions about a thing that then have been placed on everybody else because they were in some sort of, like, leadership, or just how it's been passed down generationally. Like, those are the things that I know that I have to continually challenge, and people. And also, when it comes to that, since people are so used to having you have to compromise, they're not actually ready to have a negotiation. It's because their motive is like, oh, you're not just gonna give in to what I'm saying, and you give up something, like, I need this too. Like, we need to come to some sort of agreement about this, because if not, then we're gonna be stuck in the same place. Just like in a relationship, if something's going on and then both parties don't come to an agreement about a thing, what happens? The chaos, the discontent, the malcontent, all those things still occur until an actual agreement comes into play. Just like with a sport, if I'm the player and my owner, and I'm like, no, I need a new contract because I'm doing better than what I'm supposed to be doing. You go what? You go renegotiate the terms of your deal. If they don't want to renegotiate, you can either do one or two things. You can either play it so your contract ends, or you can just not do anything at all.
And I think when people say compromise, it's meeting negotiation.
That's what they think it means. But a lot of times it just means somebody giving up something. And then somebody else is gaining everything.
But in the negotiation, isn't there a part of losing something as well? Wouldn't that be the same as compromise? Because we negotiate. Sometimes I might have to give up something for you to get. Like the example of me, like, shopping for deals. Part of it is they have to give up the price they want, and I have to give up the money.
But you both get a thing.
Okay, I see.
You both get something out of it, though. Most think about it. Most compromises that I've made in my life, I have sacrificed. And thank you. Sometimes we use compromise. Okay, I'm sorry. We use compromise and sacrifice synonymously. Certain things that I expect I have to sacrifice because this is my family. I'm good at that. But certain things where I should not have to sacrifice because I feel like there needs to be a compromise. No, there should be some sort of actual agreement based upon the terms that we lay out on the table. We can negotiate that. And I feel like now we kind of came to this place without actually defining it. Because now we really sit down and say, okay, this is how this is. I ain't really feeling that, but can we do things this way, or would this way work? And then we come to an actual agreement.
We do.
That's a negotiation.
We really do.
Because before we did
that. And you know, it's funny, in the beginning when we in our courtship, I did that not knowing that it was a negotiation. I was just kind of like, look, this way it is, this way not. Now what can you do? And not thinking about that, we just kind of came into a covenant.
Yeah,
Really, that's what it is. But I remember in the beginning I would do that.
Yeah.
And I never thought about it now that we was just, and even still saying we negotiated, it does feel like a little bit like, oh, that don't sound right.
It may not sound right, but it kind of is right. You know, it's
and sounding right could be just condition. If I keep telling you that orange is the best, and I've been telling you this for years, eventually you're gonna like orange.
Yeah, and that's almost like, because there's a term for that. I forgot what it's called. I just heard it the other day.
The more you see it, the more likely you're gonna go and start liking. For example, the example was use music. The more, that's why radio stations play the same music, because the more they play it, if you don't like it, eventually you're gonna like it.
The near effect theory. I think yeah. Either way,
but the same thing. So even that concept could be, because I heard it so much, we heard so much, I just kind of adopted it without really researching it.
Yeah, that's a good example. It's almost like when somebody has like a true mental health condition, but they are using Christianity to mask their illness, and we accept it because they just speaking about the Lord, but they really got a whole issue. That's kind of how this is to me. It's just because I say it's a negotiation, and here's the thing too, Kesha. Listen. Here's the thing. Like we so stuck. I know we so stuck on a term, right? Because it doesn't sound right, but doesn't, like, most people, don't they want to have their own business? Don't they want to be able to negotiate their terms for their life?
Or even jobs.
Or just
some
anything.
Don't have to want to be trained to be entrepreneur, but even going to jobs, you want to negotiate your contract or negotiate your terms.
So like, you can say, like, you know, the term makes you sound icky, but if you're getting the result that you want, the verbiage be damned. Like, that doesn't matter. You feel what I'm saying?
Right, put a nice word on it.
Yeah, just because I'm saying, okay, that's like somebody can't sing. So we gonna tell them, oh baby, it's good. You just making a joyful noise for the Lord. No, you can't sing, fam. Do something else. That is not where your gifts lie. You are not utilizing yourself in the best capacity, because somebody's sitting here coddling you. And you can still do this respectfully and with tact. Yeah. But still.
Not saying you can't sing.
Yeah. Can't sing. But still, you're not even being about the business of telling the truth, if you're gonna sit and try to appease my feelings all the time. And I think we fell into that, especially like early on, like where we were just like giving in, just because I know for me, I didn't feel like arguing, or I just was going on to get along, or I didn't feel like hearing it later on. So I was.
Or you thought you was gonna get a reward.
Exactly. So I did not feel like actually. And then too, at the time, I didn't have enough of emotional maturity to actually convey how I felt and say it in a very constructive manner.
Or back then, out of guilt.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, this the whole notion of how a marriage works, and actually saying we need to negotiate our terms even before we, like I said, but even before we got married, of what it is we want to do, what you want to do. And people say that a lot. They say, oh, it's just communication, but still, you're still negotiating. Even though you're having this ongoing dialogue, you still are saying what your terms are, what you will and what you won't do. And then next week we're gonna talk about, actually having like something like having terms, and then having like non-negotiables. Because that's just a part of the conversation that you have to have. But I think we can wrap this up. I think we can wrap this up right here. Yeah, if anybody has dealt with this or even never even thought about it in this capacity, make sure y'all comment below if you're on YouTube and on Facebook. Join the discussion. We'll be in the comments. Again, every Monday, 7 a.m. So you can if you're on your way to work, you can just pop it open. And usually we're going to be on...
Pop it open.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say that. No, just press play. You can, and then also, of course, on the podcast, I usually get that up by Sunday evening. So if you listen on the pod Sunday evening on YouTube, Monday at 7. That's all I got. Kids got something to say. Oh yeah, WandaVision reviews are up. I got a crazy theory, so make sure you watch. If you're watching the show, you gotta pay attention to that.
Oh, you're a theorist this week.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was on it, yo. I felt hype and happy at the same time. I felt very accomplished and proud about what I saw. That new episode with me and Maddie for Kids Got Something to Say, talking about being a middle child, which I am by default, and she is as well. So we had a good time doing that. That's all I got. Until next week.